enough to figure out all this technology. So, yeah, okay. With that being said, welcome everybody to Whole Washington's volunteer orientation. My name is Sean. I'll be your host tonight. I'm a volunteer like many of the people on here, and hopefully you guys will too. I've been with Whole Washington for since last summer, off and on, but I've really wanted to get more involved in the last couple months with everything that's going on with COVID-19 and millions of people losing their healthcare. I feel like the time is right to really fight for this. So tonight, we're going to be going over just a recap of who and what Whole Washington is all about, or a little bit of the history, our organizing efforts, and then we're going to move on to our strategy going forward and talk about our CURE campaign, which is our COVID urgent response effort. And then after that, we'll have a short little work session that's something you guys can do right now to help us win this fight for single-payer healthcare. Conclude, and then have a Q&A and schedule a next meeting and say our goodbyes. That sound good, everybody? Great. So who is Whole Washington? Well, Whole Washington is a non-profit. Oh, you're recording? Good. Okay. So Whole Washington is a non-profit grassroots organization that fights for single-payer healthcare insurance. And we fight for this because we believe, for the state of Washington, we want to pass single-payer health insurance. The why we fight for this is because we believe healthcare is a right, is a human right. And without your health, you're not going anywhere. If you're sick, you're going to pay whatever you can to get better. And we don't want people looking to make a profit dissuading us to getting that care. So to that effort, a group of a few activists got together and wrote a bill called I-1600. It was an initiative that we ran in 2017, and it had all the things in there, inpatient, outpatient care covered, dental, vision, rehab, behavioral, mental health covered, zero deductibles, zero copay for doctor visits, a $250 cap on prescription drugs, and now we're paying for it with a progressive tax system where we'd put an 8.5% on capital gains, a low percent on payroll costs. And from all this, we would save about $9 billion a year. And if you go to wholewashington.org and go to their cost saving estimator, you can find out how much you would save per year. For me personally, I would save $15,000 a year. And that's because I have great union insurance and we pay arm and a leg for it. And that's money that I could use to pay off my college loans. I could save for a house, or just save to have peace of mind if something was to happen. Like right now, COVID-19, a lot of people are out of work, but about 70% of Americans live paycheck to paycheck. And having that extra money not going to CEO's second or third or fourth yacht, it could be money that they put in the bank for that, peace of mind. So we ran our initiative in 2017, and we raised about, I think, $75,000. We had 500 volunteers willing to put in the fight. And in the end, we got 100,000 signatures. And that was incredible. We didn't have most other serious runs. Even those who put in about $1 million and have paid signature gatherers, they still don't make the number of signatures that we got. And that really showed to the organizing effort and the fight that our volunteers and organizers had. Moving on to 2018, we decided to try to go the legislative route. We convinced 3 legislators to believe in us and co-sponsor our bill in the legislature, and that was the first for Washington. And after that, 2019 to now, we've been organizing. We've been wanting to run another initiative, but get more prepared so that when we do launch, we have the resources, we have the volunteers, and we have the plan in place to win and finally get the change that we need in the state. And hopefully after us, just like Canada did, other states will pass and we'll finally get a national care. So as I said, we've been organizing. We've been going to district Democrat meetings. We've been going to marches. We've been going to protests, MLK March. And through all this effort, we went from 500 volunteers who collected signatures to now around 5,000 volunteers willing to put in the time, willing to fight, willing to collect those signatures, willing to convince their legislature to get us single-payer healthcare now. If we got 100,000 signatures in 2017 with only 500 people, imagine what we could do with 5,000. And that's only like about 60 signatures per person if we did go the ballot initiative route. So let's move on to, our strategy going forward. Now, COVID-19, has affected every single one of us. We're been kind of cooped up in our houses, afraid to, get it. A lot of people, over 100,000 people have died. It's still pretty scary. But we were going to run our initiative this year, but now that we can't go outside, all the major sports events are gone, and most people aren't crowding around now. There's protests going out there, but we don't know how long that's going to last. We didn't think that it was feasible to run a ballot initiative this year. And so now we've moved on to trying to convince our legislature to pass single-payer healthcare now as an emergency act. Now this leads, but our main strategy, which has been and always has been, creating a mass movement of people to fight and win. And we do this by starting with our supporters, activists that already care about single-payer, and build them up, have them, take an active role in whole Washington, creating projects, doing meetings like this, talking to other volunteers, and also doing the little nitty-gritty work of like trying to mobilize people to like, hey, come by, check out our educational talk. This is really important to me. Can you sign this? And through this effort, we grow as an organization of volunteers and activists. And when we do start taking action, we have an army, we have a mass movement to really shake things around and pressure those in power. And so to this end, we've created our CURE campaign, which is our COVID-19 Urgent Response Act. Now the whole purpose of this is to convince our governor and our legislators to create a emergency legislative session where they would, one, deal with COVID-19, having them pass legislation that would take care of that would eliminate their deductibles, their co-pays, and any treatments towards COVID-19 if they got it or if they needed testing. And then we plead with them and make our case why they should pass single-payer healthcare for the rest of our healthcare concerns. Because if we cover one thing, why not just go ahead and cover all the other things? Because people are still getting heart attacks. People are still needing to go to the hospital because they broke a leg. They still need to be in an ambulance to go over to the hospital sometimes. And those things are expensive, especially in our for-profit system. So we have created 3 things that volunteers like you, we're going to ask you guys to participate in. We're going to ask you to sign a petition to our governor, asking him to do all those things that I just talked about. Then later next week, we're going to launch our email drive where you would send letters to our state representatives. We'd go to our whole Washington website. You just simply type in your name and where you live, and your 3 state representatives will pop up, and you just click a button and it sends all 3 of them an email with our list of demands, our reasons for making those demands, and that they should do this too. And then later, we're working on convincing our municipal leaders to also sign on to a group letter. And these people are like our mayor, our city council members, our commissioners, and get them to sign on to a letter together saying that, hey, they want the same thing too. Now that these people are influential, they have a little bit of pull, and together, and they're peers with our state reps. So their opinion matters to them and will go a long way in creating that pressure to get us single payer healthcare. Now, I'm going to share with you what that letter looks like. Let me share my screen. Host disabled attendee. Oh, okay. Well, I cannot share my screen with you right now, but I'm going
to host. I don't know why it's saying that. What were you trying to share? And I can share it on my screen.
I was trying to share our petition and what that looks like, but I can just send that in the chat. Oh, there we go. Ta-da. Georgia, who is our whole Washington campaign, field director, is really organized and is on top of this stuff. So thanks, Georgia. So this is what our page looks like. All you would have to do, see Georgia's listed as signed in and already signed. If she click here, if she's not Georgia, you would see a space where you can put your first name, your last name, email, zip code, and just click add your name. And then Jay Inslee we would have your name on our petition. And we would send that in when we get a certain number of signees and show that there's really mass support for this action for single payer healthcare. So that letter looks awfully like the language that we have at the bottom right here. So this is what Jay Inslee would see. This is what our state representatives would see. A little bit of different language addressing the state reps, but for most part, the same. We talk about how before COVID-19, there was about 500,000 people without insurance, and that after COVID-19, there's going to be, there's job losses. People are losing their health care. And just like recently, I think it was 2017 or 2019, our premiums went up 19%. I wish my income went up 19% in a year. That'd be awesome. But no, more money is getting sucked out of our paychecks to go for healthcare. And because of COVID-19, the health insurance projects that they're going to increase their prices by 40%. Now, that's going to kick a lot of people off their health insurance because they're not going to be able to afford that. And if they do try to pay for that, that's going to just bankrupt them. They're going to have to make harder decisions. Do I buy food or do I take my medicine? Do I go see the doctor for my back, my tooth pain, or do I just bear it? And we all know that waiting for care is disastrous and leads to other and more complicated and more expensive outcomes. So let's see, did I post in the chat? Oh, you already posted in the chat, Georgia. Great. So if everybody could click on that and sign the petition, that would be great. And that would be a first great action to take on our way to win single payer healthcare for the future.
I'm already one of those 5 signatures because I had to test it.
Nice. Me too. So yeah, wrapping up, in conclusion, I hope you guys learned a little bit more about whole Washington, what we're fighting for, single payer healthcare, that we've been doing it and been successful at doing it for about 3-4 years with our I-1600 initiative, our legislative fight, and have really seen that we put in the work in organizing, and that you should be involved with us because we care, we know what we're doing, and we need your help. Um, in this time of like injustice with the killing of George Floyd, Breonna Taylor, Albury, with our for-profit healthcare system and our economy crushing poor people and even middle-class people, with millions of people losing their jobs, it's going to take a revolutionary act to bring about justice. And I don't think there could be, and that concerns a revolutionary act for healthcare, for the environment, for our economy, for treating people with respect and dignity. And I hope you guys decide today to really commit to spending a little bit of your time towards that revolutionary act and join Whole Washington. Thank you.
That was great, Sean. Thank you.
No problem.
I want to add a couple of things to it. Somebody asked about what our signature goal is, and we don't have really one, but we really want to try to get at least 5,000 signatures on that petition to make it seem substantial. And we're making it very easy, and it's through the Whole Washington website, and that's deliberate because that's how we grow our data and our base of support. So we will add people to our database by funneling them through our website, through the governor's petition, as well as through the state legislators' letter. And there's going to be, like Sean mentioned, there's 2 to your state reps and 1 to your state senator. So you'll have all of those pop up and go in there. And the thing is we really need leads to help coordinate the efforts to make sure every single legislator in the state has been contacted. We want to make sure that nobody is left out, and hopefully that everybody gets contacted multiple times. That's our goal with that. And then Blaine may want to say a little bit about the municipal piece. He's actually one of the spearheaded this entire project, which started as just the municipal leaders or officials getting signed on, and then it has grown into a bigger project. So Blaine may want to add a couple points as well. You there, Blaine? I see his name, but he's on mute. There he is.
Oh, there we go. I'm unmuted now. Hi, everybody. Blaine Jensen here, another volunteer for Whole Washington. And yes, we're working on this great cure campaign, and there are going to be email blasts coming out for step 1, the petition to the governor, step 2, the letters to the state legislators. And for step 3, this is going to require a lot more volunteer engagement and involvement, as Sean kind of indicated. So we're going to provide some tools for people to be able to look up your city and county officials, and then generate a letter that you can email. So this will probably we're looking at a fillable PDF that you can email to your local officials, asking them to endorse Whole Washington, and also to sign on to this group sign-on letter that's going to go to the governor and state legislators, asking them to enact all of the things we've already asked the governor and the state legislators to do. And we think this will provide a good deal of upward pressure, as Sean kind of outlined. So we're going to need leads in every county to help us. We're going to get this organized probably next week to follow the state legislator ask. And we'll need to have leads who can help our volunteers do the outreach. All the instructions will be there for the initial email, but what the big work is going to come when city council members, county council members, and that sort of thing reply to those volunteers. And a lot of times they may have questions. When is this letter going out? How many signatories are going to be on that? Because nobody wants to be, one of 3 on a letter to the governor, right? So we want to be able to arm them with some responses, and then offer even to set up calls with experts from Whole Washington. If you've got a city council who's very interested in learning more, we could set up a, a half-hour Zoom call or phone call or something to answer their questions. And we do have some friendly council members, particularly Tammy Morales on the Seattle City Council. Their staffers are willing to help us reach out to other councils as well. So we think once we have all of our assets together, this will be a great exercise for volunteers to get out there and leads to coordinate and connect with those volunteers. I'm not sure where our database of volunteers is going to be, how we're going to access that. I think Cindy might have a better idea about that than I do.
Georgia is able to break down the database by district and LD, and so we can break down those districts pretty easily with our current volunteer list. So we'll probably start with that and then grow it as we need. We may need to recruit people in some areas that we don't have volunteers.
Mm-hmm. And this is an important effort to really build relationships with these local officials. We're going to send those automated letters to the governor and the state legislators. That's the easy part. This is about really saying, hey, I'm your constituent, and I personally want you to get involved. And I'm going to be here kind of, watchdogging this process and supporting you as you support us. It's a great way to build the movement's power in every town around the state. So, so far, the people we've reached out to have been pretty open to this.
And it's also important to know a lot of local officials will go on to other positions or move on to the state legislature or even maybe to Congress. So building those relationships now can not only help with healthcare issues, but maybe other issues going forward, thinking ahead.
Yeah, and if you guys want to go off what Blaine said about building relationships, I host a weekly work meeting on Mondays, 6 to 7, where we reach out to other volunteers and ask them to come on by to a meeting. And so now we can ask them to sign our petition, but it's much funner and quicker work doing it together than alone. So I'll share that on our volunteer page soon. So,
Sean, that's a great idea that volunteers can host smaller Zoom meetings and send out, post on social media, send out the letter and the petition to their network. So it can be a real activity if volunteers want to get more involved and bring in people outside of whole Washington. Part of this exercise is to keep things going, but there's already a base of support we have here, and we might as well use that power to be able to assert what we want during this time and use that energy that we have. People are looking to do something right now, and we're really happy to have this project. And I do want to say, it took us a long time to come up with that acronym CURE.
I was wondering how you guys did it. I was like, damn.
Oh my God, we went back and forth with that forever until we finally came up with something that sounded sort of related to whole, healthcare, but yet positive, And it's funny, I always forget what the E is. Is it effort, emergency? I forget what that E is for, yeah.
So does Kalina, Kim, Vivian, Mallory, David, or Ruth, do you guys have anything you guys want to say? We haven't heard from you. We'd love to hear from you. It's true.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
This is Ruth.
Hey, Ruth.
I've been involved with Healthcare for All Washington for a long time. But I also volunteered with the initiative campaign for Whole Washington. My question is right now that, I think this realistically probably this is not going to go anywhere in the legislature, I suppose, but I think it's a good way to educate everybody and for everybody to have something to do. So looking into next year again, 2021, and hopefully the COVID emergency and all of that will have come down and we're going to be able to be out in the streets again. So is then the plan to go on with an initiative campaign in 2021?
Yes, that is the plan, is to moving forward. Georgia wants to say something there.
Oh,
Yes, actually, I've been coordinating with one pair of states recently, and we're going to have a meeting at the end of this month to discuss several different. I think we have 5 different states who are interested in running initiatives all at the same time, so that the insurance companies and the pharmaceutical companies won't have just one target. We can like spread out the effort. So they have many different targets, and it won't just be like, I know in Colorado in 2016, they spent millions and millions of dollars to defeat that initiative. So I think we have
120.
states running initiatives, then we have a better chance of getting at least one state to get it passed.
I think that's a brilliant idea. The more states then kind of do it at once, it puts a lot of attention on the issue. And I think coming out of COVID-19, we haven't even seen the full effects of this yet, right? With all the people unemployed that's lost their health insurance on top of everybody that didn't have it or were uninsured before. I think next year people are going to be so ready for this. It will make our job easier, I should say, than it would be maybe even this year because of this. That's the silver lining from all of this, I think.
Yeah. And then,
hi.
oh, sorry, Ruth, go ahead.
No, this is Vivian
sorry.
Corneliuson.
Sorry.
And I have been calling and writing my local Senate 32nd legislative district senator, and he called me yesterday
That's cool.
telling me that if I could get him a bill for to him, that he's Jesse Solomon, and I put it in over in the chat, and that he would be happy to sponsor it if he liked what was in the bill. And so I was just wanting to get that information to you. So I've been working on him.
Thank you so much, Vivian. I got your message on the whole Washington phone machine, and I just haven't had a chance to call you back, but I'm going to make a note of that and contact him and give him the previous draft. Like Sean said in the chat, we're just updating a few things so that we can get a better ballot title and summary, but it's basically the same. So I'll send him SB 5222, and hopefully we can have a meeting with him to discuss him sponsoring that. It would be
Good, because I think it's so important. Just
I agree. It would be very interesting if he sponsored it, because Senator Marilyn Chase worked really, really hard on the bill, and he replaced her. So that would be, we would appreciate his sponsorship.
yeah.
He's my state senator too, and I haven't had great luck with him on stuff. So yeah,
I haven't
I'm happy to
either.
hear him doing that, but yeah.
But I'm that squeaky wheel.
Good, be squeaky. I think he needs a lot of squeaky. I think he's definitely somebody who needs a lot of that. Yes.
Last legislative session, I even went down to his office, and yeah, he's a hard nut to crack. But
Yes, I'm nodding like crazy because he is. Yes.
All right, that's all I wanted to say. That please to reach out to him, because I'm kind of like, the moment he said, okay, I was like, oh, God, I got to get this out.
Actually, Vivian, would you mind putting your email address in the chat, and then I can CC you so that you know when I've actually.
Of course.
Yeah, that's a great idea. Yeah, that's a good idea. But that goes to show you right now what Vivian is bringing up is right now, with everything going on, maybe people that were not responsive before may be responsive now. And I think that's why our letter to the legislators going out about this and doing follow-up can really help.
I have a question that I've asked about before. For those of us who live in conservative districts, do we still want to be contacting, like all 3 of my reps are Republicans and all of that, do we still want to be sending them the letters?
I say yes. I think we don't leave anybody out.
And
If
I'll
you
just,
want to, oh, go ahead. Sorry, Kim.
oh, no, that's okay. I was just going to tell you an anecdotal, like a, I mean, I have a good friend here who is very conservative, and I asked if, I kind of explained whole Washington to her finally. I've been kind of like zooming around the issue in concentric circles that get smaller and smaller until I can finally just bring up the topic with her. And I finally did it the other day. And I asked her, if something like this was on the ballot, would she vote for it? And she said yes. And I know it's just one person, but I just thought it was, pretty significant that a Republican said yes.
Again, constituents tend to be more for these type of reforms. It's leadership that tends to stand in the way and give misinformation about it to prevent that. I think that's a big part of the problem. So that's why I think we should reach out to everybody. We shouldn't just reach out to the usual low-hanging fruit. We should go after everybody.
Yeah,
If they still don't get back to you, then you can, run against them if you're really crazy.
Wait, are you talking about yourself?
Georgia.
I
Yeah,
was just talking about myself.
I'm pointing at you, Georgia, right now. I'm pointing at you.
Yeah. Just to follow up from what Ruth asked about, like, is this effort going to go anywhere? It probably isn't. What about our ballot initiative? What we're doing is we're practicing, we're training as an organization and as volunteers and advocates. We need to be doing the things that people would expect us to do, and that is to fight, and that is to put in effort to, organize others. They want to see that we've put in the work, and if we put in the work, they're more likely to hang out with us and join us. And we need to continue putting that work in, because we need to create educational videos. We need to be prepared talking points. We need to let people know, like, hey, what about my doctor's going to leave because he's not getting paid, the same anymore. We need to, tell people why that's not true. This is how it's going to work. And we need our volunteers to feel like they have a skin in the game, that this project, that this healthcare system that we're advocating for is theirs. They own it. It's not something that, like, hey, I'm going to go, sign 100 people up and then I'm going to forget about it. No, this is something that's near and dear to your heart. It's something that's going to change your life fundamentally and change the lives of your neighbors, your friends, your family. Oh, I said that already. Repeating myself. So yeah, it's just really important that we take these actions and we get prepared for the bigger fights.
Sean, you mentioned something earlier when you're talking about the campaign, and I want to circle back to fundraising. We have Masha on the phone, who's our volunteer fundraiser, and one of the things we need to do is raise money to be effective for next year, and our goal is to raise $50,000, and we're on that path. I think we're around $15,000 in the bank right now, which is a big sum of money for the organization, and we hope to see that grow. But I want to turn it over to Masha and have her say a little bit about the fundraising piece.
Thank you. Yeah, so I'll be honest, I haven't been on a meeting, I feel like, in a week, so I feel a little bit disconnected. I know that this is a really important time for us to still be fundraising for our work. I personally find it a little bit difficult right now to reach out to people and ask money with what's happening in our country and what's happening, really, what we've been talking about for not long enough, frankly. And so right now I'm just kind of figuring out how to voice myself. I really like what Sean said about, you know, what we're really fighting for. And it kind of made me see that there's definitely an opportunity for equality in what we're fighting for. And that's, I love that. So, you know, it gives me a reason to continue to fight for it. I'm just trying to find the right way to express our needs right now with what's going on in the nation, because I think that there's a way to, you know, handle it. And I want us to be heard, but I also don't want to not attend to what's happening in everybody's neighborhood right now. So that's kind of what I have to say. And I know it maybe isn't what everybody was wanting to hear, but that's kind of where I'm at right now. And I'm just working through it.
I think that's honest. You know, I think a lot of people right now are taking a step back and re-examining some things and looking at it. And you're right, it's a delicate time, and asking for money is maybe not the best time. But going forward, we will have lots of opportunity to do that, even if we take a little break right now. Even with the actions that we're doing with the petition and the voting, we can use those as opportunities to help raise money for the organizations. So.
And I really think that, you know, I hear what Ruth and David were saying, you know, about how their concerns, but I really think that, you know, keeping an open mind and staying positive about the work we're doing right now is so important, because we really manifest what we want to happen. So as much as we can, I know I'm a very realistic person, but I also am very optimistic. And so I want to see the positive in the work that we're doing. So I really think that, you know, it's obviously a hard battle, and that's why we're fighting it, because it hasn't been done yet. But I think it's definitely possible. We have people, especially in Washington State, that do support this mission, that are, you know, in good places of power. So I really think it's possible. And I think until, you know, we get that no, and we have to move towards 2021 and what we'll be fundraising for and kind of working then, I think we should try to stay as optimistic about what we're doing right now and think that it is possible and we will get it done, because that's the only way we can get it done, is, you know, having that belief that it is going to happen. That's all I have to say on that.
You know how everybody gets it done? You don't give up, right?
I was curious on trying to raise money. You know, I was just wondering if you have thought about contacting maybe one of our sports teams and asking them if they would donate like a signed baseball or a basketball, and then, you know, anybody who donates, you know, $5 or more will be given out a number, and whoever gets the lucky number wins the baseball or basketball signed by all these, you know, people on the Mariners or on the Seahawks, or contacting the Gates Foundation and asking them if they'll sponsor a certain amount of money. Or
I think those are great ideas. I definitely think that there's, from what, you know, I'm kind of new to this arena of fundraising and this work. And so from what I'm understanding is, I don't know how realistic it is that the Gates Foundation would support what we do just because of what they do, even though they support so many important issues for people around the world. I'm not exactly sure that they would support this. I'm not saying they wouldn't, but from
my feeling is the worst you can hear is no.
Absolutely. I love the idea of also reaching out to the sports teams. You know, I don't necessarily have a personal connection, but, you know, from the work that it looks like, who's the quarterback? Gosh, I can't believe I'm blanking on this.
My kids would know.
Russell Wilson?
Russell
Yes,
Wilson.
thank you, God. I haven't.
He looks kind of like this.
And he's always at children's, you know.
Sorry,
he
you guys.
loves to
I'm a
sit
little.
there and do
I was
things.
sick last night, so yeah. So Russell Wilson, I know he's done so much work with hospitals and children that, you know, are facing cancer and different health issues, and has really been supportive of that. So I could see him at least, you know, donating something. I mean, that's not hard to sign something to allow us to fundraise with that. We've had a lot of people and artists that have donated art in the past and that have reached out recently, willing to share more donations. Something that I think would be a great way to continue to work towards for the donation base is definitely getting more monthly donors, somebody that's sustaining. It's not just the one-time gifts, but the monthly, even as little as $5, $10. It doesn't always have to be much, but having that incoming every single month and that whole Washington can rely on that, we can really plan for the future better instead of being like, well, let's fundraise for this money that we need. We know, look at our monthly donors. From this, we know we have so much coming in. It just allows us to be more prepared.
It is nice to have the monthly donors, but I was just thinking, you know, because we'd always had like the church and school auctions and bake sales to raise money. And so I was just sitting there thinking, you know, it's just a different way of raising money online by, you know, kind of like an,
Yeah, like a silent art auction, but just online. I know that we can totally do that. It's probably just more about setting it up and, you know, getting all of our inventory together.
Yeah, so I was just sitting there thinking, you know, like, you know, when you go buy these, you know, tickets for, $5, $20, you know, and you write your name on it, put, you know, half of it in the jar, and, you know, and whoever has the winning ticket wins. You know, it's that idea too. You know, it's kind of like if you have this football, and, you know, whoever donates, you know, you're going to send them the lucky number, you know, a number, and whoever has the lucky number, contact me back. We'll let you know at the end of the month, you know. So there's just all sorts of ideas.
Yeah, absolutely. And if you ever feel like you have any more, you can always send them to me via email. I'm happy to put my email in the chat box so that everybody has it. But it's just my name at Whole Washington.
Yeah, I think
all sorts of strange ideas.
I think online fundraising is definitely going to be the way we're going to go this year, and do more of those online auctions and other type of fundraisers. Masha did a great job in May, raising a good amount of money in May. That's why we have the money we do right now in the account. And so I think it's these small little donations, but it does remind me of this old bumper sticker. I remember something about have a bake sale for your school, but then you can get all the weapons you want. You know what I mean? With the military. I can't remember exactly what it was, but it reminds me of that, how we have to do things like this to get health care when, you know, they'll sign, you know, $1 billion away for weapons that, for what, right? I just think our priorities are out of whack. I'm just saying.
I agree. And I think we've had some really good tools that I've been able to use to kind of figure out online fundraising a little bit better. So I'm really grateful to Act Blue that's been putting on some webinars the last couple of weeks. It's been a lot of great tools to kind of move forward with our email blasts. I do feel like sometimes we're maybe not as on track as I wish we were with, you know, like in the last couple of weeks, I felt like we got a lot of questions, people asking like with endorsements, like, are we endorsing people? Are people endorsing us? And I wasn't sure if, you know, sometimes it's, I don't want to say muddies up our message, but it might be a little bit like if you're somebody new to Whole Washington and, you know, you're just looking on our site, it might not be clear exactly what we're about when we've got all these different representatives. Like you read the statements, but sometimes I don't know if we're getting too political. And so I just want to state that because it is my concern to keep this issue really about like humanity and not so much of a political side, because I know that a lot of our supporters come from a political side, but we still have other people from every, you know, political party or not. So I just want to make sure people don't feel excluded or like they can't join us because it's not their group of people. I watched a video recently of like why people don't speak up, and it's because they're so afraid to be the one person in their group to speak up and like not to just speak differently, you know, and to be, you know, out basically. And so I don't want people to feel like they can't join us because, you know, they're not a Bernie supporter or something like that. So just saying that.
Well, I don't think we should be endorsing any candidate. I mean, it's okay for candidates to endorse our mission, but we shouldn't be endorsing any.
No, and we're not, but I've been hearing messages from people that come to our site and they're not sure about the endorsements. They're confused. They're like, oh, is Whole Washington endorsing somebody, or is somebody, like, they're not sure. And so I just want to make sure when we are posting these kind of things, it is very clear, you know, that they are endorsing us, and it's just a little bit less about the politics of it, maybe.
Well, you just mark that endorsed by, you know, it make it clear that you're not endorsing, that you're being endorsed.
And I think we do. It just, you know, maybe sometimes people don't read it clearly. And so I was just questioning if we're being as clear as we can, or it just gets lost in translation, or, you know, broken telephone. Sometimes people aren't just the best at looking over stuff too. So kind of.
Well, I think you bring up a good point that we need to probably do a better job of showing that we're nonpartisan, that we're not related to any one party. This is not a partisan issue. This is not a political issue. This is a human health issue. And maybe we can look at the website and try to change a little bit of the language, that it looks more like whoever comes to the site looks like it's way more, it's about everybody. And so that's good feedback to have, you know.
Especially with as many unemployed people as we have right now, we need medical. We need a good medical system for people that's open to everybody.
Yeah.
And this is Ruth, and I think the very important message as far as this goes is that basically people from all spectrums politically will respond to, and that's the affordability issue. Because the people on the right or the left, they all struggle with how they're going to finance healthcare coverage for their families. And so I think that's basically a winning message, is basically trying to get out there that this is something that whatever this bill that has been proposed will make it affordable for everybody. I think it's more important than any other message.
I agree, Ruth. I think selling it like that point will go far. And I do think, you know, the reality is Whole Washington started with people that were Bernie-crats. I mean, that's the reality of it, and that's not a bad thing. But you're right about our messaging needs to be more nonpartisan, and we may need to take a look at that and see how we want to improve that. So when people do come to the site, it feels like this is everyone's welcome. This is not has anything to do about politics, kind of.
Yeah.
Well, actually, let's not get it confused. This is about politics. We are trying to change the law. We're trying to enact a public policy. We're trying to take power away from the insurance companies, the pharmaceutical companies, and give it to us. What this group isn't is partisan, where we exclude others. No, this is about everybody, and we are.
So it's not partisan politics, but you're right. It is politics, but it's not partisan politics.
Hey, I have two fundraising items. First, I put a whole bunch of red berets on the website, beautiful new red berets. If you want to go look at those, it took me a lot of work yesterday to take pictures of each one of the red berets on myself. So with my mom's help, she actually took all the photos. So it did take a long time though. So go take a look at those. Also, I saw in the comments some people had some suggestions about fundraising. We really like, pun intended, people to take initiative. So we're 100% volunteer, all of us, even the staff, like myself, the field director, the campaign director, and the fundraising director, and Sean here, we're all volunteers. So if you think of a great way to fundraise, please, if there's a form that can be filled out on one of the big corporations, they give money for nonprofits. If there's a form you could fill out, please do it. If you have any questions, like if the form asks a question you're not sure about, you can contact me. I'm on Facebook, or just email me and I'll help you out with that. But a lot of us are doing like 4 or 5 things, so if you can help out and fill out those forms, that would be great.
This is Vivian. I got a question.
Sure.
are, because I've looked at the berets and I have contemplated getting one, but I never see sizes on there. I have a big head. Are any of them for large?
Yes.
Large heads.
So you can kind of tell with the pictures that I took, the ones that are a little bit bigger. And I would say any of the ones that say Dr. Dooley style, they're a little bit looser. And if I see your order come through, I am the one who ships all the orders. So I will make sure to pick out one a little bit larger for you. So
Thank you.
no problem. I have a really small head, so I have the reverse problem. I always try on a hat in a store and I look like a kid trying on a hat. It goes over my eyes. So I understand the dilemma.
Yeah. Thank you.
No problem. We're about at 8 o'clock. Should we just wrap it up? Are we good? Anybody else have any last items? I do have to go pick up my kid. I got some emergency childcare. So
Leave them.
I could use a night off.
Good. You could.
What's that?
Yeah, isn't it your husband's birthday? You guys both deserve a night off.
Exactly. Exactly.
Thank you so much for the amazing presentation, Sean. I really, really loved it so much.
Yeah, great job, Sean. That was great. And I'm sure you're going to be given a few more of those.
Yes. Each time, hopefully, it gets better.
Yep, all the time.
Thank all of you. I thank you.
Yeah, thanks, everybody.
Thanks,
Nice
Vivian.
meeting.
Thanks, Ruth.
All right. Have a good night, everybody. Be safe.
Bye.
Thanks. Have a good weekend.
Bye, Blaine.